Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. My name is Samantha Genser, and I'm going to be your host for today. We have a very exciting show coming up for you guys. We're going to be talking about the Ronda Rousey versus Liz Carmouche, the matchup that changed women's MMA, women's college tennis updates, Jordan Larson and how she aims for back-to-back gold medals at the upcoming Olympics, the salaries of WNBA rookies, and Caitlin Clark's debut yesterday. Before we start, I would like to ask that you like and follow the show, and you can become a part of our show by tipping and donating. Your support means a lot to us. Also, we do get a lot of questions that come in from viewers during the show, so to ensure that your questions get read on the air, I ask that you use the GSMC podcast.net link with your questions so that I can see your questions and they get read on the air. This puts your questions at the top of the list so that I see them, and it also really helps the show, and we would really appreciate it. Again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net. Okay, now let's get started. I hope you guys enjoy today's content. So we're first going to be going into the Ronda Rousey versus Liz Carmouche, the matchup that changed women's MMA. And I have not talked much about women's MMA, and I feel like this is a great way to begin talking about the MMA by starting with the iconic Ronda Rousey versus Liv Carmouche matchup that, really changed women's MMA, and we obviously will get into that. So, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC, is a household name now, and big fights in the women's fight game generate as much interest, anticipation, and speculation as fights in the men. Early pioneers of women's mixed martial arts, also known as MMA, such as Ronda Rousey, Chris Cyborg, and Miesha Cupcake Tate, have played a big part in bringing women's MMA into the mainstream. Shows of brutal knockout power, technical fighting excellence, general toughness, and so much more have all captured the interest of the world. So we're going to take a look back at the Ronda Rousey and Liv Carmouche at UFC 157 and how this paved the way for more women to come forward and make their name known in the MMA. So Ronda Rousey, I'm so sorry, I cannot say her last name for some reason. Ronda Rousey is a prominent figure in both mixed martial arts and professional wrestling. She first gained international fame as an MMA fighter, particularly in the Ultimate Fighting Championships, where she was known for her judo skills and armbar submissions. Rousey was instrumental in popularizing women's MMA and was the first woman to be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. Before her MMA career, Rousey had a successful judo career, winning a bronze medal at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, which made her the first American woman to earn an Olympic medal in judo. After dominating the UFC and becoming one of the sport's biggest stars, Rousey transitioned to professional wrestling with WWE, which is also known as World Wrestling Entertainment. In WWE, she quickly rose to prominence, capturing the Raw Women's Championship and participating in key matches, including being part of the first ever women's main event at WrestleMania in 2019. Rousey's contributions to both MMA and wrestling have made her a trailblazer and influential figure in combat sports and entertainment. And then we have Liv Carmouche. Liz Carmouche is also a prominent mixed martial arts fighter, known for competing in the Ultimate Fighting Championship mainly and also other organizations. She was born in 1984 in Louisiana, and ever since she has had a significant impact on the world of women's MMA. Before her MMA career, though, Carmouche served in the U.S. Marine Corps as an aviation electrician and did 3 tours of duty in the Middle East. Her military background brought a unique perspective and skill set to her MMA career, contributing to her reputation as a tough and disciplined fighter. Carmouche has competed in various weight classes and organizations, which really demonstrated her versatility and resilience throughout her career. She is also openly gay, making her one of the first openly LGBTQIA+ athletes in the UFC, and she has been an advocate for LGBTQIA+ rights within the sports community. So, In 2012, Dana White, the UFC president, announced at the headliner for UFC 157 that they would feature a matchup between Ronda Rousey and Liz Carmouche for the bantamweight title and presented Rousey with the bantamweight title belt. It was the first time women had gone head-to-head in the octagon, and the UFC was really laying it on the line with the bout. Fans who were used to seeing competitive bouts would get bored if Rousey, who had become dominant in the women's MMA and the Strikeforce organization, just ran through overmatched opponents. White had to find a fighter who could provide a challenge, and they believe they found it in Liz Carmouche, a tough U.S. Marine Corps veteran and rising MMA star who had a record of 8-2 at this time. So Rousey entered the fight as the favorite, and even those who weren't experts on how to bet on sports were enticed by the generous odds were considering her a favorite. On February 23, 2013 in Anaheim, California, early in the first round, Carmouche came close to lifting the title after locking in a rear naked choke on Rousey, but Rousey shook it off, fought her way back into the round, and settled the match at 4 minutes and 49 seconds of the first round. The bout between Rousey and Carmouche had materialized because Dana White could no longer ignore the talent he was seeing in ladies' divisions and other organizations and felt the time was right to give ladies matchups their shot in the UFC. The fight paved the way for a legion of super tough female fighters wanting to test their skills in the octagon to come forward. As well as Miesha Tate and Chris Cyborg, the octagon has seen skillful fighters such as Shaun Wei, Amanda Nunes, Rose Namajunas, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Holly Holm, Carla Esparza, Michelle Watterson, Paige VanZant, and a host of other female fighters just all stepped onto its mat since then. Amanda Nunes was living and training in the United States at the time of the fight and had already fought for Strikeforce and Invicta FC. Seeing women's MMA break into the UFC was something she and a lot of other women MMAs had been waiting for. She knew the fight was huge and that one day she too would be fighting for the UFC. Later, she won the women's bantamweight title off Miesha Tate, and in her next fight, she also knocked out Ronda Rousey. The fight was also inspirational for former Bellator MMA flyweight champion Ilima-Lei Macfarlane and UFC flyweight fighter Caitlin Chookagian. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing that wrong. That was my best attempt. Chookagian. Macfarlane had been invited to train at the same gym as Carmouche, and the fight and training at that gym made her believe it was possible to reach the level of fame as a fighter she never thought was possible before this. For Chookagian, seeing the fight inspired her that MMA could be more than a hobby. She saw that it was possible to make a career out of battling in the cage, rather than MMA being something she did outside her day job. The fight between Ronda Rousey and Liz Carmouche held significant historical and cultural importance in the realm of MMA and sports in general, as we know. This bout was noteworthy for several reasons, and we're going to dive into most of them, or at least the ones that are most prominent. So first, not only was this the first women's fight in the UFC, but it was also the main event of the evening, which really highlighted the UFC's confidence in its draw and significance. This positioning was a statement about the marketability and skill level of female fighters. The fight significantly boosted visibility for women in MMA, demonstrating that female fighters could headline major cards and draw large audiences, and they did just that. Additionally, Liz Carmouche being openly gay brought further diversity and representation to the sport, making the event a landmark for inclusivity in the MMA. Also, female fighters have had to surmount a range of obstacles, including lack of recognition, pay disparity, and limited opportunities. The battle between Rousey and Carmouche has helped these and other women in MMA to break down the barriers and command the same amount of respect as their male counterparts. They use society's biases and limitations as fuel to drive them to achieve that. Every misconception is a chance to change these perceptions by showcasing their skill and spirit. And then to add, as a consequence of the fight's success and the story surrounding it, there was a notable increase in the presence of women in sports media, both as subjects of coverage and as journalists and commentators. This has helped to gradually shift the landscape towards a more equitable representation in sports journalism in itself. And then also, the fight itself was intense and competitive. Carmouche nearly secured a victory with the rear naked choke early in the fight, which added to the drama and excitement, proving that women's MMA could be as thrilling and technical as men's. The success of this event led to the expansion of women's divisions in the UFC, with more weight classes and fighters being added over time. It demonstrated that there was a strong audience and market for women's MMA, encouraging the development of talent pools and increasing investment in women's fighters. Overall, Ronda Rousey versus Liz Carmouche was a groundbreaking event without a doubt that not only advanced the careers of both fighters, but also transformed the landscape of women's mixed martial arts. The fight served as a source of empowerment for women and girls interested in martial arts and combat sports. Rousey and Carmouche became role models, showing that women could compete at the highest level in traditionally male-dominated sports. Their presence and success on such a significant platform inspired many to pursue careers in MMA and other combat sports, and we can definitely thank them for that. So we're now going to discuss some women's college tennis updates. Before we do that, we are going to be taking a very short break, so I will see you guys really soon.